This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Don't focus on what charges Ken Chesbro and Sidney Powell, two disgraced lawyers for Donald Trump, just pled to in order to get their deal in Georgia. Focus instead on what will be the explosive nature of the testimony against Donald Trump, how it changes the calculus for Donald Trump. Caught him flat-footed. He wasn't expecting either of them, let alone both of them, to cooperate, turn state's evidence, turn witnesses for the prosecution, and what it means for him, not just in Georgia, but in Jack Smith election interference case. This hot take is going to break down, now that we've had a little time to catch our breath after back-to-back plea deals, what it means going forward. First, let's talk about each of them. Then I'll connect the dots and bring it forward with Jack Smith. Sidney Powell is the most insider of defendants and witnesses to testify against Donald Trump since we began this entire investigation. I can't stress enough for you how important Sidney Powell saying that she's a criminal, admitting that she committed a crime, and she did it with Donald Trump, is to all of the cases involving Donald Trump. First of all, it helps completely destroy and undermine any attempt by Donald Trump to claim in order to undermine the prosecution's ability to prove criminal intent, which keeps prosecutors up at night. We got to show willfulness. We got to show criminal intent, mens rea, criminal mind of the person. One of the ways to try to defeat that is to use a reliance on advice of counsel as a defense. We know John Lauro, the lawyer for Donald Trump, has been out there saying Donald Trump's going to use the advice of counsel defense. He had preeminent and eminent lawyers, including John Eastman, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, and others. Now, all those people have already been indicted. One's already pled guilty to a crime. So the fact that one of his lawyers that he allegedly thought so much of in the heat of the moment into December of 2020, that he was considering making her the special counsel to investigate voter fraud. Yes, he fired her later when she said some things that went a little bit too far, even for Donald Trump. But all through November, December, even before November, the whole Stop the Steal, she's involved with every one of the lawsuits. And she's in the inner sanctum with Donald Trump on a regular basis in a series of White House Oval Office meetings that she had the golden ticket to attend. Her, Rudy Giuliani, Mike Flynn, the guy that owns Overstock.com for whatever reason, the pillow guy, they're all in there, right, bending Donald Trump's ear to get him to declare as commander-in-chief that there's been fraud in the election, to seize voting machines, to declare martial law, suspend the Constitution in order to cling to power. She is in that innermost sanctum. She was like an earworm for Donald Trump. And now she's going to testify that, A, she didn't really believe any of that, or if she did believe it, she didn't have any proof, and that she's going to comment on Donald Trump's purported reliance on her advice and challenge that. Sidney Powell is connected to Rudy Giuliani. She can testify about Jenna Ellis, John Eastman, Bernie Carrick. She can testify about, in the current Georgia case, Misty Hampton and Kathy Latham and the other fake electors. She was going to dump, I'm sure, on Ken Chesbro. So I can't underestimate how important it is that prosecutors have gotten Sidney Powell to flip. And this is not something that Donald Trump expected at all. It has to change the calculus of how he's dealing with things. When he gets up in the morning, he can say all sorts of things about the crazy justice system, and it's all a witch hunt and a fraud and a steal and whatever. But now, and she's not the last, we got two back-to-back lawyers for Donald Trump that have raised their hands and sworn that they are criminals, and that Donald Trump basically is too, in the conspiracy that they were all a part of. Ken Chesbro, his lawyer has already said, Scott Grubman, we'll play the clip next. Scott Grubman's already said that Ken Chesbro never believed that there were legitimate grounds to challenge the outcome of the election. Just think about that. Ken Chesbro, who allegedly is the somebody that Donald Trump relied upon in order to execute the plan of the fake electors being certified in a basements in 7 different battleground states and having those fake electoral certificates through Mike Roman, the day-to-day director of ground operations for Donald Trump, deliver them to Mike Pence on the joint session of Congress to pressure him not to certify. He, according to his lawyer, never believed that Donald Trump won the election. Always believed that Joe Biden was the legitimate winner of the election, and he was just, positing, sort of thought games for Donald Trump, gaming out what could happen if you use fake electors and how you could stop the peaceful transfer of power. I think let's watch the clip here. Your client pled to a felony. He's the first one to have to plead to a felony thus far. And it's not just he pled to conspiracy to commit the filing of a false document. Let's dig a little bit deeper. He pled guilty, didn't plead no contest. He said, I am guilty of count 15 in the indictment, which implicates Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman in a conspiracy to file a fake elector certificate, knowing that was not true. So, your client may have gotten a probationary deal, but at this stage, he's admitted that the big lie was a lie and that everything that he was doing wasn't right.
So I'd like to push back respectfully a little bit on you, Katie. First of all, Mr. Chesbro never believed in the big lie. If you ask Mr. Chesbro today who won the 2020 presidential election, he would say Joe Biden. Okay, so, it's a pretty dark day for Donald Trump when the guy you were relying upon says he doesn't think you won. And I'm sure you take it to the next logical step, he'll tell the prosecutors that Donald Trump doesn't think he won either. That's the killer, right? That's the nail in the coffin among many for Donald Trump. Did you know that poor sleep can cause weight gain, mood issues, poor mental health, and lower productivity? Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health and performance in our days. Having a consistent nighttime routine is non-negotiable. I know in my own life when I don't get enough sleep, not only am I irritable and grouchy, but my performance in work or in life suffers greatly. Introducing Beam Dream. You know we've been raving about Beam's Dream Powder, their healthy hot cocoa for sleep. And today, our listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, their best-selling hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like sea salt caramel, cinnamon cocoa, and chocolate peanut butter. Better sleep has never tasted better. Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. A recent clinical study revealed Dream helped 93% of users wake up feeling more refreshed, and 93% reported that Dream helped them get a more restful night's sleep. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy before bedtime. I've personally tried Beam Dream, and it lived up to the hype. First off, it was delicious and just a lovely nighttime routine. And secondly, and most importantly, it helped me fall asleep and stay asleep. The next day, I woke up ready and eager to take on all life's challenges and tasks. Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code legalaf at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code legalaf for up to 40% off. So you got Chesbro, who's now also pled guilty. He had a plea to a felony. Sidney Powell pled to a misdemeanor. Again, the counts don't matter. Counts don't matter. Chesbro is going to be able to connect the dots to the following people and testify against them, all leading back into Donald Trump. He'll testify against Donald Trump, Boris Epstyn, the insider who even to this moment carries so much sway with Donald Trump that he's out trying for Donald Trump as a proxy to get a MAGA Speaker of the House. Boris Epstyn, who brought in
all the lawyers that are representing Donald Trump. Boris Epstyn, who coordinated all of the fake electors on behalf of Trump and the Trump campaign. Chesbro is your worst nightmare. Rudy Giuliani, he'll testify against Jenna Ellis and Bernie Kerik, who assisted Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. He'll testify against John Eastman, his co-architect of the Jan 6th fake electors scheme. Mike Roman, and many of these people have been indicted. Mike Roman indicted in Georgia. John Eastman indicted in Georgia and mentioned currently as an unindicted co-conspirator in D.C. Jenna Ellis indicted. Giuliani indicted in Georgia and mentioned as an unindicted co-conspirator in D.C. Boris Epstyn mentioned as an unindicted co-conspirator in D.C. And so when you're putting up the big mob organizational chart that always goes up that we see in every movie, right, about these kind of matters, this is who Chesbro is able to connect the dots to and testify against. It's pay dirt and payday for the prosecutors to get these two back to back. Part of it is of their own making. Let's remember, they're the two that jump forward and exercise their right under Georgia law to go to trial within a month of their indictment, thinking they were going to catch the prosecutor, Fani Willis, flat-footed and not prepared. She was prepared and loaded for bear. She had been prepared for the last 6 months. She wasn't going to bring her indictment and took a lot of grief, including on this network, including on Legal AF, the podcast that I co-anchor, about her not moving fast enough. That's because when she indicted, she was ready to go to trial the next day, because she knew it was a possibility under Georgia law. And when she said, sure, you want to have a trial in a month? Ready, as prosecutors like to say. The two of them, I'm sure, gulped. That was my gulp. And said, we better cut a deal. And now that has cracked the ice. And now we're going to watch a whole series of other defendants, co-conspirators of Donald Trump, plead guilty and as a result have to testify against him and have to cooperate fully with the prosecutors. We're going to see the fake electors, Misty Hampton and Kathy Latham and others. They're going to have to plead because, if they're going to be like, well, these two just pled. What chance do I have of winning, especially if they're going to testify against me? Because that's what happens, right? It's not that the jury is informed that there's been prior convictions. It's that these two people, Chesbro and Powell, walk through the doors as free people, so to speak, and testify that we were in a conspiracy with the rest of these people and we committed a crime. And I'm here to tell you about it. Now, look, they'll be cross-examined. I don't want to suggest that Chesbro and Powell are wearing a halo that isn't sullied at all. They're going to be cross-examined. You were facing a long time in prison and you took a deal, right? Because, this goes to bias and credibility in front of the jury. That the only reason you're doing that now and testifying against my client is to get a deal. And you got a misdemeanor, didn't you? And not a felony charge, Miss Powell. And you got one count of a felony, Mr. Chesbro. And you've avoided jail and you're getting probation, aren't you? Yes, 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 and yes. And at one time you really believed all of these things, right? And now you say you don't. Well, when were you lying, then or now? That's the cross-examination. But it is certainly worth the price of admission to put these people on the stand, because they'll just say, yes, and now I've seen the light and I committed a crime and here's why. And the juries usually credit that, especially people who at one time were true believers like Powell, at least Powell. I mean, from that clip we just played of Grubman, you can't say he was a true believer, Chesbro, at all. Now, let me just finish the hot take on what this means for the Jack Smith case. A lot of people are wondering, and it is a very good development. This is going to, I think, accelerate and change the velocity at which Jack Smith is going to indict these people, not Chesbro and Powell. I think he's going to cut a deal with both Chesbro and Powell, who are both listed as one of the 6 unindicted co-conspirators in the D.C. election interference case Jack Smith has against one defendant, Donald Trump, and 4 counts of conspiracy, but he's got 6 people listed. And now 2 of those 6 have pled guilty to crimes in Georgia. So you know they're going to be on the phone, or if they haven't been already, with the lawyers for Chesbro and Powell about their level of cooperation in the D.C. Circuit case, because they're going to have to cooperate the same way and tell the truth the same way. There's only one truth you can tell. They're going to have to tell it again and cooperate. If they want a deal to avoid federal conviction and federal indictment, they're going to have to cooperate there. So don't be surprised when Chesbro and Powell are reported to have cut a deal with the D.C. federal prosecutors now to do the same thing, cooperate there, say they committed a crime and a conspiracy. You might see a quick indictment followed the next minute with a plea deal, or you might see a plea deal to avoid an indictment. It'll be one of those two things. But this also ratchets up the pressure on Jack Smith to get these other 4 unindicted co-conspirators, Rudy Giuliani, Boris Epstyn, and the rest, who for now have skated by, listed only as unindicted co-conspirators without being named. You know, we pieced it all together. But now there's going to be pressure on Jack Smith to get these people to flip. And I think the phone calls are, you know, as a 32-year defense lawyer, are going to go as follows. Phone call from Jack Smith's team to the lawyers for these people saying, look, you know things are going terribly wrong in South for Trump and others in Georgia. We're going to get, of course, Powell and Chesbro to cooperate with us and others. If your client doesn't come in to avoid an indictment, we're going to indict your client. We're going to we'll get the grand jury back up and running, and we'll indict them. Probably in a separate indictment, not joined with Donald Trump, so it doesn't delay the Trump trial. I don't think those cases get consolidated in any way. I think those cases get tried separately and won't delay the March 2024 Trump trial date. But now, Fani Willis has given a giant gift to her fellow prosecutor, federal prosecutor Jack Smith. He now has a giant hammer that he can use against the unindicted co-conspirators like Rudy Giuliani, like John Eastman, like Boris Epstyn, to get them to cooperate now that the 2 others of them that were part of their gang, Chesbro and Powell, have pled guilty to state crimes for effectively the same facts, on the same facts. So that's what we're going to see next. The use of what happened in Georgia, not just in Georgia, against other conspirators who are defendants who are facing trial, but in D.C. by Jack Smith as he ramps up the pressure campaign there. We'll follow all of these chess moves, all of these cascading events coming off of the back-to-back plea deals of Chesbro and Powell in Georgia. One place, the MeidasTouch Network, on the YouTube channel that you're watching us on right now. You knew that. You're watching me here. I do hot takes like this one about every day, sometimes 3 and 4 times a day, depending upon the news and the news cycle. I do it with my fellow leaders and anchors of Legal AF. Yes, it's what you think. The leading podcast at the intersection of law, politics, and justice. Karen Freeman McNiffalo, Ben Mysalis, and me every Wednesday at 8 p.m., every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we put it on audio podcast platforms so you can listen to it whenever you like. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF episode, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.